Hello and welcome back to the Ryno Sports Talk podcast. This is episode 9, and this is more of a Super Bowl basically Super Bowl and then an extra topic. So, I guess let's get right into it. And I'm going to start with something that didn't happen in the Super Bowl, but rather during it, and that was Marshawn Lynch retired. If you didn't see it, he put up sent out a tweet with just the emoji of the peace out emoji, and he wasn't getting a lot of flack for it, but they sent it out during the Super Bowl. I think it was right around the start of the third quarter, somewhere in there. And it was kind of speculated that he was going to retire before that, and I guess it still is because he hasn't officially said anything. Seahawks haven't said anything, all that. So it's not truly official, but still, there's that feeling that he is gone, he's done. So with that, I want to talk about that just a little bit. I think that is the most Marshawn Lynch way to go out, if I should say so myself. Marshawn was known for not really talking to the media. He came up with saying he copyrighted that I'm just here so I don't get fined and all that. He didn't really talk to the media. He got fined a bunch, and that spawned that saying. But like I said, he kind of coined that, and it was used a lot. He uses it in his personal brand and everything. So this is more of just like a perfect way for him to go out, in my opinion. I've heard a lot of people say it, just saying that, yeah, this is a great way to go out. But the reason I say it is because obviously he didn't do much with the media. So how awkward would it be for him and for us watching and the media and all that to have Marshawn come out and say, hey, I'm done, I'm retired, no questions. I'm just leaving so I don't get fined, and leaves. Or something along those lines. He has a maybe 2-minute long presser and all that. Shout out to the Bills, shout out to Oakland, or whatever he did in that one presser, and does that again. That'd be pretty cool. That is the legitimately Marshawn way to go out, is like that. And that'd be funny to watch. I'd love to see that. Too bad we won't. I do think that this way that he went out is fantastic. And speaking about retirements, this is kind of a big year for retirements. You got Marshawn, possibly Calvin Johnson, Kobe Bryant's gone, or leaving, I should say. Tim Duncan might be also leaving, and then Charles Woodson, and maybe Manning as well. So outside of Marshawn and Calvin, I think Manning, Woodson, and Kobe and Duncan were all about the same time as they came into the league, and they're all leaving at the same time. It's just that time that they all came in, it was a great jackpot of talent and big names and stuff. So it's sad to see Marshawn Lynch go. It's sad to see Calvin Johnson if he leaves, Manning, Woodson, Kobe, and Duncan if they all leave, but it's just their time. And I think this is a great way for Marshawn to go out. It's a very Marshawn way to do it, I think. And I don't really expect a huge, big announcement, press release kind of thing, but I think he'll say something and be like, I'm officially done. Thank you to the Seahawks and the Bills and all that stuff. So I don't expect it to be a huge, long thing, but I'm excited to I'm looking forward to that. So that was the first big part of the week, or a big part of the thing. And I got two more things I'm going to talk about the Super Bowl, and then something about NCAA athletes. So I'm going to go right into why is Cam Newton being criticized. So like I said, I'm going to talk about what Peyton Manning can do, or will do, and kind of what he talked about after he accepted the Super Bowl trophy, the Lombardi trophy. After the Super Bowl in general, actually. So I'm going to start with that, actually, first. If you didn't watch Super Bowl, I already talked about what Cam Newton did. Now I'm going to talk about the other quarterback in there, and that's Peyton Manning. The one thing that wasn't caught on was caught on camera, but no one really heard it, and it came out a day later, I think, or 2 days later, was he told Josh Norman to have a great career, and I think that's a great thing for Manning. He's kind of saying, you're good right now. I want you to keep playing at this level and all that stuff. And he's kind of signaling, kind of like with the "this is my last rodeo" to Belichick thing, he's kind of signaling that he's done. At least in my opinion, I think that's what he's saying. But also, it could be some other stuff. He could just be saying, I I think you're a good corner, and I really respect you, and I hope you have a great career. I mean, that's just the kind of guy Manning is too. We all know that. So it could be either way. I'm gonna take it the way that the retirement. He's kind of just saying, "Hey, I'm glad I faced off against you right before my career. You're gonna be one of the best in the league here once you get going and start winning some more and get on a great team and all that stuff. And you're gonna get paid this year, that kind of thing." So moving on to what Peyton Manning said in his first post-game interview, it was basically immediately after they won. I can't remember what his name is, but the CBS guy went up and asked him like, how did you think you played? How did the defense play? Normal stuff. And then he also said, what was really interesting to me is, do you plan on retiring? And Manning had a little grin, kind of a little laugh, and he said, "No, I'm not gonna make that make that decision now. I'm gonna go drink some Budweiser and all that stuff." And I think that's a great way to handle that. And obviously, that's kind of the storyline going into this year. So it was kind of expected that that question would come up in post game. I wasn't really too mad about that one. What I was mad about was after the trophy presentation, they walked the trophy down the aisle of players, which I always think is the coolest part of the year, part of that Super Bowl. And then, kind of what happened after was they handed it to Commissioner Goodell. They handed it to the owner of the team's wife, Mrs. Bolin, and then she handed it to John Elway. They both gave speeches, and then they handed it to Manning and made him take the mic for a little bit. And obviously you're going to ask some more questions like, how does it feel? Does this help your legacy? That kind of thing. That's fine by me. Completely fine by me. That's great journalistic integrity there. But what really kind of makes me mad was when they said, "So is this your last ride?" And it's the same guy. Keep in mind, it's the same guy that asked him just a minute ago, "Is this your last ride? Or are you retiring right now?" And Manning had a great speech about, Tony Dungy gave me this advice long ago to not make an emotional decision. Gonna go home, pray, drink Budweiser and all that stuff. And the reason I say Budweiser is because that's what he actually said, is I'm gonna go drink Budweiser. He wasn't paid for it and all that stuff. That just sticks in my head because I remember, like, did he sell out kind of thing? But back to the story. So he said that. He said that he's not going to make the decision now. And that's not really good journalism to ask the same question twice by the same guy, to the same question to the same guy by the same reporter. And I mean, that just kind of makes me mad because you're like trying to pressure him. They're trying to pressure Peyton into saying, "Yeah, I'm done. Get off my back," kind of thing. And I was really surprised it didn't happen again in the other, like CBS 4 for Denver and all these other. I'm surprised they didn't ask the other news outlets. So I think that was just not really good. I didn't like it. I thought it was really bad and annoying that they kept asking him. But what are you gonna do? So now I'm gonna move on to what I think Peyton Manning will do and kind of what his options are. So first things first, I saw this week that the Los Angeles Rams now want Peyton Manning back for next year, to come back next year and go on to their team. And they were going to sign him and all that, play a year. They're just going to make they're kind of just looking for the big name player to get. And I don't really think that there's one of those in the free agency or anything like that. So that's a fair enough assumption to make that. Say, hey, we want him just to kind of get your brand going, get LA to generate some buzz for your team and all that stuff. That was smart. That's smart marketing right there. But I don't think he's going to do it. At least I hope not. He doesn't have the arm strength he's had over his career, especially in the past 2 years that we, as Bronco fans, know. But he also, and going to about any other team, he's going to have to rely on their defense more than their offense like he had this year with the Broncos. So I don't think that there's really a comparable defense to the Broncos team, at least in the NFL. And so I don't think that he's going to want to go to a team and go out as a loser, where he's going to go. So, like, for example, he played on the Rams, and the Rams with Jeff Fisher, who doesn't generally go above 500, he'd probably go 7-9 or something like that. Like, he'd probably have a losing season, and he would probably also have an injury again and quit midseason if he did that, if he played another year. So I think that's my opinion on the playing side. So what I do think he will do is actually you become a owner slash GM slash coach, whichever one he really prefers. And he could also take a year off too. I think taking a year off would be great for him. He's still going to keep his mind sharp. He's still going to do that. He could do color commentating as well, which I think would be a great thing for him because he's got the IQ and the football smarts to be a great broadcaster. But maybe he could replace some of the bad ones like Phil Simms and Joe Buck. That'd be kind of neat. But going back to the coach and GM or owner one, like I said, I think he has plenty of options either in Tennessee or okay, so I'm going to talk about Tennessee and Cleveland mainly because they're the ones that have kind of open GM spots. So Cleveland, he's got a good tie to Jimmy Haslam, the owner. So he could just be like, hey, buddy, can you give me a GM spot? And can I be the GM for the Browns kind of thing? And he knows what he's doing, obviously. He's got a great mind. He knows what to look for with these great team, or to build a great team, build a great defense, offense, what's looking quarterbacks, and all that stuff. So I think he'd be great in the GM role. As well as the owner role, he'd be doing about the same thing, except for he'd know what to look for. He'd have to be looking for GMs and coaches more. But going to the other side of that, which would be coaching, which would be more suitable for his, I guess, career status at the moment, where he is just coming out of, basically he's about to retire. Maybe he took a year off, and that's where I could see him best at, is just being a quarterback's coach on like a team that has a really young quarterback that's a pocket passer, gunslinger, whatever, and just teaching them the ropes to that and doing that. I think that would be great for him. No matter what Manning does, he's going to do good things at it. Either he's a coach, a GM, a broadcaster, or if he just becomes the Papa John's advertiser guy, I think he could do that too. But whatever he does, he's going to be good at. So I think he's going to make the right decision. I do believe he is going to retire this year. And when he does, be sure to check out the blog. That's going to have a great story and post about Peyton Manning. So make sure to check that out. Link in the description. And we're going to move on to the last topic about NCAA athletes. So like I said, I'm going to talk about why Cam Newton is being criticized. And this one kind of shocks me a little bit why he actually is. That's why I'm talking about it, obviously. But so what the whole thing is, for a little bit of background, in the Super Bowl, if you did not watch it, Cam Newton I think it was the fourth quarter, it was his last drive of the game for the Panthers. He fumbled the ball on a strip sack by Von Miller. Great play by him, first off. I got to say, that was a nasty move he put on Reimers at tackle. He was doing that all night. He had some nasty moves. But anyway, so Von Miller strip sacked him, and the ball was on the ground. A bunch of people were in a huddle, and Cam Newton didn't dive for the ball. And this is only the first part of this. He didn't dive for the ball, which I thought was kind of smart, but he did eventually dive for the ball the second, just a little bit later, just not initially, when it squeezed back out. And so why I'm talking about this one in particular is he got a lot of flack for it, but I'm going to make the excuse for him, but not really, is he was set up to, like, in that, if you watch that play completely, he was going to get hurt if he would have dove for that ball. He had his leg bent at a wrong angle. He would have dove head first, and there's a bunch of people all the way around him diving for the ball too. And that's exactly what he said. He didn't want to get his leg hurt. So just on that first dive that he didn't go for, a lot of people were giving him flack, and he gave up a pretty good excuse of doesn't want to get injured. And then people come back with, well, why not? It's his last game of the year. Well, if you injure your knee, your ACL, your MCL, any of that stuff, you're not going to be the same. Just look at RG3. He's a kind of like Cam Newton, just a little bit smaller, and he plays like Cam Newton. Let's just say it that way. He hurts his leg, and he tears his ACL, comes back a little bit too early, tears it again, and he's not the same guy. That's why I'm not criticizing Cam Newton. Biggest play in the Super Bowl. He could be out for another year, or he could be out for a whole year. Plus, on top of that, he won't be the same when he comes back. So that's kind of a smart thing on his part for not diving for it. The second time when he actually did dive was kind of smart because the ball popped free from whatever the two guys, the Bronco and the Panther, that were there to try and pick it up the first time. And obviously, if you have a chance that's a wide open ball, you can go get it, and Von Miller swatted away, and TJ Ward grabbed it and all that stuff. So that's what I think about Cam Newton. It was a smart play to not go diving for it because he saw the injury risk plus what could really happen with like RG3 and a couple other guys that hurt their legs. Now the bigger part here was the post-game press conference, and if you didn't see it or haven't heard about it, Cam Newton, when he was at the thing, he looked really sad and was kind of dour and just looked really disappointed he lost. And obviously that's kind of what you're expecting when you lose. But the more thing is I think that lasted 4 questions, about a minute and a half or so. So you got that on top of the fact that he looks really disappointed and stuff. So to begin with, before I add in the part that actually makes sense, or it makes sense why he did that, Cam Newton should not have looked as disappointed as he was, just because he should know that he's a bigger face of the franchise. He's a bigger name in the NFL. Everyone's going to look at him and criticize him and all that stuff. But in the moment, I will say that's fine by me that he looked sad and all that stuff, because you just lost the biggest game of your career. What are you supposed to look like? Happy, cheering? You're supposed to look, and you're 20. He's 26. How is he supposed to react to that, to losing the biggest game of his career? And he's never lost a game like that before. He obviously lost some games early in his Panthers career, but he played in the national championship at Auburn, won it. He played in the NFL. He played in playoff games like last year and earlier this year, and they've won some before this. But the playoff games that they played before this year, they weren't expected to really win, and they had a bad matchup. This year they were kind of expected to win, so that wasn't a big issue. So this is like the real first big loss of his career. I'm thinking it's fine that he looks sad and stuff, but he had, before I add in this other part, I'm going to take my first half of the week. Yes, it was wrong to leave early, or to leave it after a couple questions and be pissed off and all that stuff. That's wrong. But the reason he was pissed off was kind of how it was set up in the media room, where they had behind him the Broncos were doing their thing, doing their Super Bowl interviews, and he could overhear Chris Harris Jr., the star Broncos corner, talking about how he shut down, or how they plan to attack Cam. Can he make us throw and all this stuff? He's kind of throwing some shade, which if you win like that, you kind of deserve to. But at the same time, you still don't, because you should be more professional than that. So if anyone on that post-game conference, people should be jumping on Chris Harris' back. I don't agree with that, just because I like Chris Harris, I like the Broncos, all that stuff. But in my personal, unbiased opinion, people should be jumping on Chris Harris, not Cam Newton, for making Cam Newton leave early. Especially after you hear what he actually said. And if you want to look it up, I encourage you to look it up so you know what I'm talking about. And Cam Newton came out and said a bunch of stuff on Monday or Tuesday about why he didn't dive on the ball, leaving the press conference early. He apologized, I think, and a bunch of other stuff. But my opinion, I don't think Cam Newton should be really criticized as much as he is. Yes, he is the fresh, good-looking, young, athletic dude in the league, all that stuff. He's the face of the league basically right now. He's what all the coaches want in a quarterback. He's got the charisma, the swagger, and all that stuff. But he started the whole dab dancing phase, or whatever you want to call it. But still, I don't think he deserves the criticism he does. He gets. Yes, he's good, but and that's why people are going to criticize him is because he's outlandish and he's really got the like swagger and charisma that a lot of people wish they had but don't. So that's why he gets criticized, but I don't think he deserves it, at least based on the Super Bowl performance of the two things I talked about earlier. So he plays good. He doesn't deserve the criticism of what he got from what he did, and really it's just out of line in my opinion. So I'm going to move on to what will Peyton Manning do in the future after this year. So like I said, this is about NCAA athletes, and last week I talked about how NCAA athletes should be paid, and this week I'm going to do the opposite, talk about why they shouldn't. So first off, I'm going to use an argument that I made last week and kind of revert it, I guess. And what it is the argument about not having time for work is they do have time for work. They just have to cut out their fun, I guess. Like, obviously you have to go to school, you have to go to class, you have to be at the meetings, you have to be at weightlifting and all that stuff. But there's still 24 hours in a day. And obviously this isn't the best opening argument for this because, yes, the coaches and classes and all that stuff is going to demand a lot of each athlete, but it's still, you still have enough time because they still have downtime to play video games or do whatever and still get good grades and still be higher up in the football food chain or the sporting food chain, I should say, that they could have time to have a job. Will it pay a lot? Will it do this or that? Probably not. But it's still a job. They're still making a little bit of money, and that's the first reason why I don't think student athletes should be paid. Now, another thing is that they're on full scholarship to the school. So if you look at the school, they're the student athletes paying for the tuition, the room and board, the food, the on-campus food, and it's really about it. They got their books and stuff too. But so they're going to full ride to go to school and get to play their sport. So that should just be enough for them, I think. But it really makes, like, this argument's more logistically sound than the first one, because what you work for in college is to pay for yourself and pay for your way to pay for, or make sure you can pay for college after you graduate and stuff. And with that, the student athletes don't have to pay for college because they're getting a full ride. And with that, they're getting a bunch of money in food vouchers and however the school does it. Basically, they get free food from the school. So they shouldn't really have to go out and go get their own food. They should just be able to eat at the school. And obviously obviously the cafeteria hours are certain hours and all that, but still there's always a cafe, or not a cafe, but like cafe or like something that has snackish kind of foods like muffins and yogurt and all that kind of stuff, bananas, apples, fruits, vegetables, all that. So that's open usually until midnight in most colleges. So no matter what time of day that their practices are, they will always have time to do it, to get into the cafeteria or the cafe or whatever and get their food. So that's not really a good argument anymore if they're not getting time to have good food, because there's always time to have good food for them. And so with that, I don't think that, like I said, it's just really the food is the one thing, but they still don't have time. Or I guess, let me put it this way, they shouldn't have time if they're going to be putting in so much work to earn their scholarship, I guess is the best way to say that. If students are earning their scholarship, they should be putting as much time into into their sport as they are into school. because that's what they're there for. They're not there for, like, they're there for sports. They're not there for just academics. They're there for academics and sports. They're not just there to get the degree. They're there to get their degree and play sports. So they should be putting the work that, okay, so for example, they should be putting the work that they should be putting, or the work that they would put into, or the amount of time that they put into work should be going towards sports to make themselves better in that sport, or toward the homework in schooling to make themselves better in school. That is my thought on that, with them being paid or them not being paid. Like if they have a time to get a job, they should also be putting that back into the sport or school, as well as not really worrying about food, because there's always some place that'll be open on campus. And that goes with gas too, is they shouldn't be really driving anywhere, because usually there's stadiums and practice facilities and all that stuff are on campus, so they don't have to drive anywhere to go to practice or whatnot. So that's my thing. That's my opinion on the why student athletes should not be paid. But that's my argument. I should say, not opinion. My personal opinion, I do think that they should be paid, because they're getting profited off of, like I said. And if you haven't listened to that, go listen to the other part of this and make your own decision. I love to hear from you guys in the comments. So I guess with that, I will wrap up the Ryno Sports Talk episode 9. And if you didn't already, I wrote a piece about the baseball, about the start of baseball coming up. That's on my blog, link in the description, like I've been saying. And I guess that's really about it. I'd love to hear from you guys about what about what topics to write or talk about or write about, whatever. And I think in the maybe next week or a little bit after, I will be taking a 1 week break. I'll make sure to keep you up to date on that in my blog. But so stay safe, have a happy Valentine's Day and NBA All-Star Game Day, I guess. I'll know I'll be watching that, and it's gonna be a lot of fun with the sports starting to ramp up, at the NBA getting hot, and the start of college basketball. Well, not start of the conference play for college basketball and all that ramping up. So it should be fun. I'm looking forward to doing a March Madness preview and a couple other things. So stay on the lookout for that, and have a good week, guys. Peace.